Nestor Robert Marley, famously known as Bob Marley, was born on February 6, 1945, as the only child of Cedella Malcolm and Captain Novell Sinclair Marley. He was born at Cedella's father's farm in 9 Mile, St. Anne's Parish, Jamaica. He stayed on his family farm until he was 6. In 1951, Bob went to live with his father in Kingston, Jamaica. When Cedella arrived the following year to look in on Bob, she discovered that he had not been living with his father, but had instead been living with an elderly woman named Mrs. Gray. Once mother and son were reunited in 1952, they returned together to their rural Jamaican home in St. Anne. Bob learned later that his father had died and his mother moved to Kingston without him to earn a better living. In 1956, Bob was moved from his father's farm to live with his mother's sister, for whom he tended a herd of goats. He was reunited with his mother when he moved to Kingston to join her in 1957. This otherwise happy reunion was marred by the fact that they now lived in Kingston's West Side ghetto, known as Trench Town. In 1959, after attending several area schools, including Ebenezer Wesley and St. Aloysius, Bob ended his formal education when he quit school. He spent time playing soccer, hanging out with other ghetto youth, and gradually picking up music. In 1960, together with his closest friends Bunny, born Neva Livingston, Bob began to cultivate his musical talents. He and Bunny built rudimentary instruments, and together they practiced singing by imitating Fats Domino, Louis Jordan, and the harmonies of Curtis Mayfield's impressions. Higgs not only provided singing lessons, but he added Peter Tosh, born McIntosh, to the group. At age 16, Bob was taken to sing for producer Leslie Kong, who issued his first recording, Judge Not, One Cup of Coffee, and Terror on Beverly's imprint. Later in 1963, Bob, Peter, and Bunny recorded for Clement Coxon, Dodd, who was one of the 3 biggest producers of Jamaican popular music on the island. Later in 1970, the Wailers began recording a series of now classic singles for producer Leslie Scratch Perry, in which would be a legendary lineup: Bob Marley, Bunny Wailer, Peter Tosh, and the Barrett brothers, Aston and Carlton, as the rhythm section. In 1971, at the end of the year, the group was abandoned in London with no means to return to Jamaica. Bob made contact with Island Records head Christopher Blackwell, who fronted him the money to get the band back to Jamaica and make an album. The association quickly made Island Records the most important reggae music label. Bob Marley with the Wailers then released Catch a Fire in 1972. The album had modest success and a degree of crossover appeal to the rock and roll style guitar and keyboard overdubs that Blackwell added to the original tracks. In January 1973, the album was released in the United States and forever changed the way reggae music was packaged and marketed. Catch a Fire was soon universally recognized as the first genuine reggae album in history. The Wailers then launched their first official tour. In 1974, the Wailers reached international exposure due to Eric Clapton's cover of the Wailers' song, I Shot the Sheriff. The song went to number 1 and sparked an enormous amount of interest in the reggae style. While they were experiencing the most success they had had, the original 3-member Wailers corps disbanded. Bob continued to use the Wailers name for the rest of his life. Without Peter and Bunny, Bob went on to release the Natty Dread album at the end of the year. In January 1975, the original Wailers officially disbanded. Then in 1976, Bob appeared on the cover of the Rolling Stone magazine. Later, Bob Marley and the Wailers released the Rastaman Vibration album and then toured for 3 months to support the release. On December 3 at approximately 8:45 p.m., gunmen broke into Bob Marley's house at 56 Hope Road and opened fire. Bob and Rita were each shot once, and their manager, Don Taylor, was shot several times. Everyone survived, but this forced Bob into self-imposed exile in fear of his life. In 1977, in the wake of the assassination attempt, Bob released a flurry of records. Exodus was issued on June 3, 1977. In 1978, Kaya album was released. The Exodus and Kaya release both spawned successful tours. Bob set up the Jamaican Peace Concert, which featured several important reggae acts. The concert was produced to help settle some of the violence that had been tearing the island apart. Bob and the Wailers released the Survival album in October of 1979. The album was another big success and led to another international tour, which was launched in Boston at the end of October. The famous Surprising was released in June and was supported by another international tour. During the tour, Bob Marley collapsed while jogging. It was soon discovered that he had suffered a stroke and the rest of the tour was cancelled. The last live show that Bob Marley and the Wailers played was on September 23, 1980 at Pittsburgh Stanley Theatre. In the wake of his collapse, Bob was diagnosed with terminal cancer in his stomach, lungs and brain. At the end of the year, Bob traveled to Bad Wiessee, Germany, and seeking non-traditional treatment from Dr. Joseph Isals. Dr. Isals was able to extend Bob's life but could not successfully treat cancer. In 1980, on October 4, American popular musician Stevie Wonder released a tribute to the cancer-stricken reggae superstar. The song was reggae-like in style and was called Master Blaster Jammin'. At 11:45, May 11, 1981, Robert Nesta Marley, the first third world musician who rose to international superstardom, died. In his death, Bob was treated as a Jamaican national hero. Afterwards, Bob's body was taken to his St. Anne's birthplace where it remains. His house at 56 Hope Road has become a place of pilgrimage for ardent fans. His album Confrontation, released in 1983, was the only posthumous release that was conceived by Bob before he died. In 1984, the most popular collection of Bob's greatest hits, Legend, was released. The album went on to become the highest-selling reggae album of all time. In 1999, the collection of Bob's greatest hits, Legend, received its 10th platinum certification and sold more than 10 million copies. Thank you so much for watching the video, and please don't forget to like and to share. And also don't forget to subscribe to this channel so that when I release a new video, I will personally send you a message to let you know that there is a new video for you. Thank you.